everyone, Charmaine here. Welcome to another papercraft tutorial, and in this video we will be making this clear tag with frames on them. This papercraft is sort of on the intermediate level because it requires specialty tools, and it was actually also difficult for me to put it together. So I'm just gonna show you the process of how I made it from start to end. Before we begin, do take the time to subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. The materials that I used to make this tag is as follows: a clear cello that is 10.5 by 18 centimeter in size, stationery labels, cutter and scissors, cutting mat, glue, double-sided tape, harinacs stapless stapler, eyelet punch setter, avril yarn, chenille and bouquet, and also dried flowers, hydrangea, drosophila, and misty. Do feel free to innovate and find substitute for the materials that I have just mentioned. The first thing you will need is your stationery labels, and you can use anything that has like a frame around it, and I just simply used the cutter and the ruler on the cutting mat, and I just cut out the center portion so you can create frames like these ones on screen. For this particular project, I am using 3 different types of frames for each layer. Next, we prepare the cello. So I didn't really measure, but I just eyeballed it to fold it thirds of the way. So basically we are dividing the 18 into 3, so that's 6 centimeters each, and I'm just cutting it through. So these are like the cello bags that you can buy, or you can reuse the ones that come with your stationery purchases. So in the end, you will have 3 10 by 5 centimeters by 6 centimeter sheets. So before putting it together, I try to visualize and assemble the flowers first on the frames. So this part of the process depends on the flowers and the frames that you have, but for me, I have this white dried misty, and I put it in this particular frame. Then this drosophila, so I could have done better if I pressed this beforehand, but I just manually pressed it down and it worked well. But I would advise that you press these flowers first so they would be easier to handle when putting them together. Now the hydrangeas, they weren't very tame, so I just put them on the frame and just like had a rough pattern more or less where I wanted the petals to go, and I'll show you how I'll assemble them onto the cello. So the misty was the easiest. I am using white glue to sort of like attach the misty onto the frame. So I just put in a little dot and then just press down on the part of the plant that touches the frame. Then I flip the frame and then I cut this little strips of double-sided tape and put it onto the back of the frame, and it overlaps some portion or parts of the dried flower as well. I take out the backing of the double-sided tape, and then I open the cello and just slide the frame and the dried flower right in. So as I've said, this is a bit of on the intermediate level, so it was a bit difficult for me to put the flower in place. This bit requires steady hands and much patience. After going back and forth and hoping that I stick it on the cello in a parallel or straight manner, I finally did. So I just pressed on the adhesive to further secure the plant and frame in place. So that's the first one. And my next one, I'm using the Drosophila, so I do the exact same thing really, and the whole process is the same for all the other frames. So I guess the challenge here afterwards is finding the right layering for your frames. So what you really want to do is to make sure that the frames overlap each other, so you see each part of the frame from the top view. As for me, I just made sure that the frames were like sort of interlocking, or like there was a piece of the frame over the other, something like that. But you can see it in the final output anyway. This tag is actually inspired by the transparent journals of Noemi of 01 Scriptorium. I actually made a transparent journal as well, and it was inspired of her, and that is how I ended up having the idea for this layered clear tag. So if you're wondering what this blue thing that I'm using on here, it is actually is like sort of like a double-sided tape thing, but instead of the rolling type, it's sort of like a puncher. So I'm using that to put little bits of adhesive onto the cello, and that is where I stick the petals of the hydrangeas. So this one is really nifty. I got this one from Art Bar, but I think you can also use the roller type, or maybe just use a piece of double-sided tape as well. The reason why I'm being very stingy about putting on glue and putting on double-sided tape is because I do not want it to cloud the transparency, so that you can maximize the layering when you put all three sheets together. So when you are happy with layering, you can seal off the sides. What I'm using here is the harinacs stapless stapler, so it just basically embosses the openings. If you don't have the harinacs, maybe you can use those food bag sealers, the small ones that you can get on Shopee, or maybe you can just use like double-sided tape, bits of it. So it's really up to you, and let me know how you were able to solve this design problem without using the harinacs. Once you've sealed off all the edges of your cello layers, this is the time to add in more details before you put them together. So I just add a small detail. This is one of the papers that I made, and I just put it on the corner. Again, I put it at the back so that it doesn't cover any of the frames that we have on front. So I'm just melting this wax, and I'm going to be pouring it onto the sheet. So imagine how difficult this would be if you already put it together. So just add in your little details before you punch your hole. And I'm using this gold clip to hold the layers together, and I am punching a hole through. And once I punched all the holes, I just simply put the eyelet through and used my setting puncher to secure the eyelet in place. If you don't have an eyelet, that's fine as well. You can just go directly to this step wherein I am adding yarn. So this yarn is from Avril Kyoto. I am using the bouquet in white and the chenille in cream. You can get it directly from their website, the same way I got mine. The whole cone is a bit expensive, so if you just want to try out some of their yarns, you can actually find samplers on Shopee, and I think I have some on my shop as well in Shopee. I'll put the link down below. And that's the last detail. As you can see, this is the final output of the transparent tag. I hope you enjoyed this papercraft tutorial. Let me know in the comments below if you are able to make one of these, or maybe on Instagram, tag me, and I'd love to see your work. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and making it through till the end. I will see you in the next video. For now, stay safe and keep well. Bye!